Danny Holland is a certified instructor for law enforcement officers in Virginia who trains law enforcement officers, school police, and school counselors across the nation on youth culture, media influence, teen violence, and drug use. His presentations have also been endorsed by Congress, school administrators, and the president of a national parenting group. Danny joins us today to discuss how to take control of your future, no matter what age you are. And Danny, we're so glad that you could be with us, especially in light of the recent shootings that involve teens, both of them. And I heard there was another shooting on a school bus or coming off of a school bus yesterday. And then also a group of girls just attacking a gentleman on a New York City subway. So it seems like there is a rise in teen violence. Is there? And if there is, why do you think we're seeing that?
Well, I think overall, teens are becoming desensitized to a lot of the violence and a lot of the violence out there, and using violence as an option. From teen entertainment to a lot of the music they listen to, they're inundated with violent imagery. Kids right now between 7th and 12th grade listen to approximately 12,000 hours of music of their own choosing. They only spend 11,000 in a classroom, K through 12. So they get more education from their music than they get informal education until they go to college. Not even to mention the 30,000 some odd hours of screen imagery they see. So they're inundated with video games, they're with just images and commercial images. But a lot of the things that are out there for teen entertainment are very, very destructive. They're very, very influential, and they do show violence as an option.
Right. So do you think that that is a great deal of the cause? Because I know a lot of people, they feel like, oh, there's too much, the movies are fine,
People have been
the video
saying that
games,
for
they've
20
been
years.
saying that.
Sure.
Exactly.
Well, it has changed a little bit. I wonder if the violence in the entertainment is crystallizing how a lot of young people feel, or whether it influences. And there's a lot of studying going on about that right now, a lot of research. But I really think a lot of young people see it as an option, and it becomes very normal to them. Our culture makes violence very normal for young people. So a lot of the options we see don't seem as extreme, and that's kind of troubling. So I think the trend with youth violence is more toward less extremes. They see it as very comfortable. I was in Miami speaking to some students, and on the news there was a young boy, and he beat a homeless person to death. And he was laughing and giggling, and people were describing it as a look inside the cold, dark heart of a teen killer. And
natural born killer.
But if they've ever seen America's most popular video game, Grand Theft Auto, they'll find that most kids in our country do that for entertainment. This kid did it in real life. But these kids see it very often as just very normal.
So desensitization of not just even watching it on the screen, but now this generation, it's actually role playing, and
they're
it's
an active participant. Exactly. They're actually initiating the violence, and that makes a big difference.
So then, as a parent, and you also train law enforcement, school administrators, how do you handle a situation like that when you do see a teen who could be on the edge of that kind of violence?
Well, that's a great question, Kelly, because when we see young people right on that edge and we want to reach them, this young generation is driven by relationship. We've got to develop a roadway into their life. That's what a relationship is. It's a roadway. And when we as caring adults spend time developing that roadway, spending time developing it, planning it, and just having that relationship with young people, we'll be able to communicate back and forth. Young people today want to connect with adults. They want to connect with people who care for them more than anything. And we as adults, we need to develop those roadways, those pathways. And through that, we can influence kids even beyond our words. We teach kids what we know, but we communicate to them and we train them by how we live. So spend time on that roadway, and the way we do that is by spending time with them. That's how they spell love,
so
T-I-M-E.
that's also preventive medicine.
Oh, it is, and it's one of those things that once there's a tragedy going on, it's too late to just start developing a roadway. Start very, very young, very early. Waste time with kids. Just spend time around them, and you're going to see them try to draw close to you because they want to connect with caring adults.
Right. Now, one thing, you have a passion for young people, but you also have a passion for seeing people fulfill their purpose in life.
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you think that we're also kind of seeing this trend where people are really hungry and have a real desire to find their purpose now?
And they're inundated. People are inundated with images and options. Back in the day, you could play football, baseball, maybe basketball. Now there's like 40 different sports kids can play, and kids have daytimers. They're just inundated with options and possibilities, and the internet has made this young generation view the world as just global. Boundaries we had growing up, they've never had. They've never lived without being able to communicate with somebody in Russia or some country. So they see boundless opportunities. And a lot of young people grow up with that, and they have so much around them that's speaking to them that they struggle to kind of prune the things in their life that are not as important. And that's what purpose does. Purpose looks at their life and says, what am I here to be doing? You know, and helping them discover that purpose is what we can do as adults that can probably help them the best to avoid destructive choices.
What are some of the ways to kind of help kids, help your own kids or youth in the community, kind of, or in your church, kind of find that pathway?
Well, one of the things we can do is help them do an inventory of themselves. In other words, what is it that's really touching their heart? In the book, I talk a lot about it, but what are some things that really touch them?
Right.
What makes kids cry?
Yeah.
What is that passionate thing they feel about? What makes them angry? What injustice do they see? That's something God has probably put in their heart to deal with. We see it really often in Moses. We see Moses, Hebrews being beaten, and he intervenes and he kills this guy. And you know that God's plan was not for him to kill this man.
Right.
But we see his purpose starting to reveal itself. You know, God raised him up and chose him to be a deliverer of his people. And we see that purpose and that passion stirring even younger at a younger age. It wasn't refined yet. He didn't have the skills he quite needed, but he was still in process of it. But we can see that in our young people's lives.
Now, how do you help them do that when I think we're living in a culture where everything is pop culture? I mean, everybody want to be a superstar, you know. They want to be a next American Idol or the next, you know, famous basketball player. How do you get them to see there's other things in this life that you can be aside from a superstar?
Well, and that's really comes with a lot of mentoring and coaching. One-on-one, finding out what direction their heart's going in, connecting them with people who are skilled in those areas, connecting them with people who have gotten success in those areas, and let them start to develop vision a little bit more. I worked at a church that took homeschoolers who were interested in technology, and they would bring them under the wing of people who were just trained professionals at using technology, using web-based technology. There's middle schoolers who are pros at doing video editing and things. They had exposure to things very, very young and directions they were interested in. So finding those areas and then just leading them toward those areas. As parents, we need to kind of adjust between a dominant parenting and influential parenting, somewhere around 8 to 13 years old. In other words, from telling them to do everything, clean your room, brush your teeth, to kind of come alongside them, letting them make some choices and helping guide them through the journey they have. It lets us have influence in their life long beyond when they're 18 years old.
Right.
And it helps them start to navigate the path that they have. You know, a lot of the things you mentioned are little mile markers along the way of the direction they're going in.
Right.
So helping them kind of see through some of that takes a lot of time and coaching, and that's what we can do involved in their lives.
Any pointers or tips with regards to kind of being a parent and kind of watching how our kids interact on the internet, you know, with the MySpace and the Zangas and all the, you know, the world that's opened up.
Oh, sure, Facebook and even Club Penguin for kids. They're inundated with it. One of the best things we can do as parents is be involved with our kids on the internet. Now, a lot of kids will have a what they call a white page, which is a clean page, and then they'll have their other page. But we need to realize that if we wouldn't trust our children at the mall alone, we probably can't trust them on the internet alone, because there are predators on there actually preying on our kids. There are people actually trying to hunt our kids, pornographers who put hidden text in their pages just to have kids stumble upon it. So we need to be very, very aware of what they're doing. You know, it's so hard sometimes because we slow down on technology and we think, wow, I don't know what these kids are doing. Just be involved. Sit down with them and say, show me what you do. You know, start your own page. Start a Facebook page. Have your kids help you. But learn a little bit what they do online, who their online friends are, and just be aware of what they're doing.
Lastly, we just have about a minute left, but you pointed out something in your book that I kind of thought was interesting and didn't quite hear it that way before, but what's the difference between choosing and discovering your purpose?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, we can discover, you know, who we are, what God made for us to be, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. But we can't just choose. So often kids just think, well, I'll just pick something randomly, and that's what God wants me to do with my life. Where God has designed us specifically for what he called us to do. We are genetically perfect for what he has called us to do. God is not a bit surprised by our weaknesses. In fact, we're created with weaknesses. We have things we are not good at. Now, why would God do that? Because he wants us to interact with other people. We're not designed to live life alone. So what we need to do is discover our uniqueness, not try to fit into a mold and I want to be like everybody else or these popular people. What is it that God made inside of us that makes us unique? When we find that uniqueness, we stay close to it, we can move in the direction that we're supposed to and begin to refine that and see God take that very, very special gift he has in us and turn it into something just amazing.
Right, that's wonderful. I think that that's something, not just adults, but even young people, that we need to understand that we are unique and we are special just the way God made us. So, Danny, thank you so much for coming and being with us today. We really enjoyed you. If you'd like to purchase Danny's book, You Are Here, or find an easy way to link to his website, you can visit us at harvest-tv.com for more information.